I should have known something was wrong when Michael called about the delivery. 7 years of marriage, and he'd never once asked me to wait for a package. But I was too distracted by Derek's text to pay attention to the warning signs. Now, 6 months later, I'm packing the last of my boxes in this sterile corporate apartment in Seattle, 3,000 miles from the life I destroyed in one night. My phone buzzes. Another message from my sister asking if I need anything. I don't respond. What I need is a time machine. What I need is to go back to that Saturday and make different choices. What I need is impossible. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how one surprise party destroyed everything, you need to understand how perfect my life was before I threw it all away. Michael and I met at a charity fundraiser 8 years ago. I was 26, fresh out of my MBA, working as a marketing coordinator at a tech startup. He was 32, established in his career as a financial consultant, with that quiet confidence that made everyone in the room gravitate toward him. But he only had eyes for me. "You're the woman who organized this whole event?" he asked, gesturing to the elegant ballroom filled with Phoenix's elite. "Guilty," I said, smoothing my dress nervously. "Though I had help." "Don't be modest. I heard you raised twice your goal. That's impressive." By the end of the night, he'd gotten my number. By the end of the month, we were exclusive. By the end of the year, we were engaged. Everything with Michael happened naturally, like pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. He was everything I thought I wanted. Stable, successful, devoted. My parents adored him. My friends envied me. I had won the relationship lottery. Our wedding was perfect. 200 guests at the Arizona Biltmore, white roses everywhere, my grandmother's pearl necklace around my neck. Michael cried when he saw me walking down the aisle. I thought I'd never been happier. For 5 years, we built a beautiful life together, a 4-bedroom house in Paradise Valley with a pool and mountain views, Sunday dinners with his parents, vacation twice a year, Hawaii, Europe, wherever I wanted to go. He'd leave Post-it notes on my coffee mug with little messages. "Beautiful day for a beautiful woman. Thinking of you. Can't wait to come home to you." I thought I had everything. The problem started so slowly I didn't even notice it happening. Michael's consulting firm expanded, taking on bigger clients, more complex projects. He started traveling more, a few days here, a week there. I threw myself into my own career, moving up from coordinator to manager to director. We were both successful, both busy, both distant. We still said "I love you" every morning and night. We still had sex on Saturdays, always Saturdays after date night like clockwork. We still looked perfect in our Christmas card photos, but somewhere along the way we'd stopped really seeing each other. We'd become roommates with shared assets and scheduled intimacy. Then Derek Coleman joined our company as the new VP of Strategic Development. I need you to understand. I wasn't looking for anything to happen. I was happily married. Or at least I thought I was. But Derek was different. Where Michael was steady and predictable, Derek was spontaneous and exciting. Where Michael scheduled our dates 3 weeks in advance, Derek would pop into my office at 2 p.m. and suggest grabbing coffee to brainstorm. Where Michael's compliments had become routine, "You look nice, honey." Derek noticed things. That presentation was brilliant. The way you pivoted when they pushed back on the budget was masterful. It started innocently. Work lunches to discuss projects, after-work drinks with the team that somehow became just the two of us when everyone else left. Late nights at the office preparing for board presentations, ordering takeout and laughing over inside jokes. "You know what your problem is?" Derek said one night as we worked on a campaign pitch. It was past 10, the office was empty, and we'd switched from coffee to wine from the executive kitchen. "Enlighten me," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "You're too perfect." I laughed. "That's not a problem most people complain about. I'm serious." He moved his chair closer, and I could smell his cologne, something expensive and dangerous. "You never let yourself just be." Everything's always under control, planned out, polished. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to? I thought about it. Really thought about it. And I couldn't remember. See, he said, his voice soft. You're so busy being the perfect wife, the perfect director, the perfect everything that you've forgotten how to just be Claire. Sophia, I corrected, then realized my mistake. My middle name had slipped out. The name only my college friends used, back when I was fun and spontaneous and didn't have mortgage payments and performance reviews. Sophia, he repeated, like he was tasting the name. I like that better. It suits you. That should have been my warning. The moment he gave me permission to be someone else, someone who wasn't Michael's wife. But I was 3 glasses of wine deep and feeling seen in a way I hadn't in years. The text messages started the next week. Innocent at first. Memes about work, questions about projects, then more personal. How was your weekend? Became, what are you doing right now? Became, can't stop thinking about that idea you had. Became, can't stop thinking about you. I told myself it was harmless. We were colleagues, friends. So what if my heart raced when his name appeared on my phone? So what if I started dressing differently on days I knew we'd have meetings? So what if I found myself comparing his spontaneous energy to Michael's predictable routines? I was in control. Nothing was going to happen. Then came Michael's business trip to Atlanta, a week-long conference for financial consultants. He'd been stressed about it, preparing presentations late into the night. I offered to help, but he waved me off. It's boring stuff, he said, kissing my forehead absently. You'd fall asleep reading it. I wanted to tell him that I had an MBA, that I could understand his work if he'd let me in, but he was already back to his laptop, and I was already invisible again. The night Michael left, Derek texted, Drinks? That new place downtown? I should have said no. Should have gone home to our empty house and watched Netflix with a glass of wine like a good wife. Instead, I typed, Give me 30 minutes. 1 drink became 3. The new place became a quieter bar. Talking about work became talking about everything else. Derek told me about his divorce 2 years ago, how he'd felt like he was sleepwalking through life until he'd finally woken up. I told him about feeling invisible in my own marriage, about being perfect, being exhausting, about missing the girl I used to be. She's still there, he said, his hand covering mine on the bar. I see her. Derek! I started to pull away, but his thumb stroked across my knuckles and I forgot what I was going to say. I know, he said. You're married, I respect that. But I can't pretend I don't feel this. Feel what? Like I've been waiting my whole life to meet you. It was a line. I knew it was a line. But when you've been invisible for so long, being seen feels like a drug. We didn't kiss that night. I went home to my empty house and lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment. Michael called to say he'd arrived safely, and I could barely focus on his words. All I could think about was Derek's hand on mine and how alive it made me feel. The rest of the week was torture. Derek and I maintained professional distance at work, but the air between us crackled with tension. Every accidental touch in the elevator, every shared glance in meetings, every carefully worded email felt loaded with meaning. Michael was supposed to come home Friday afternoon. Thursday night, he called to say the conference had added an optional Saturday morning session he wanted to attend. Could he change his flight to Sunday? Of course, I said, hating the relief that flooded through me. Take your time. Friday night, I told myself I was going out with my sisters. Shopping, dinner, normal sister things. But when Sarah canceled last minute with a sick kid and Michelle got held up at work, I found myself alone at a wine bar downtown. Alone until Derek walked in like he'd been looking for me. Fancy meeting you here, he said, and I knew he'd planned this. You shouldn't be here, I said, but I moved my purse so he could sit. Neither should you. He was right. I should have been home preparing for Michael's return, doing laundry, restocking the fridge, being the perfect wife, Instead, I was 3 wines deep with a man who wasn't my husband, feeling more myself than I had in years. "Let me drive you home," Derek offered when the bar started closing. "You shouldn't drive." I should have called an Uber, should have texted Michael goodnight, should have done 1,000 things differently. But Derek's hand was on my lower back, guiding me to his car, and I felt 25 again. He didn't drive me home. "Just for a nightcap," he said, pulling into his driveway. "Coffee to sober up." We both knew there wouldn't be coffee. The second his front door closed, his mouth was on mine. 7 years of fidelity evaporated in an instant. I kissed him back with a desperation that scared me, like I'd been drowning and he was air. "Tell me to stop," he whispered against my neck. "Don't stop," I whispered back. What happened next was a blur of heat and need and terrible choices. His bedroom, his hands, his mouth, the weight of him, the sound of my name, my real name, not perfect Claire, but messy Sophia, gasped in the dark. And for those stolen hours, I wasn't anybody's wife. I was just a woman who wanted and was wanted in return. The guilt hit the moment it was over. I dressed in the dark, fumbling with buttons, avoiding his eyes. "Stay," he said, reaching for me. "I can't. This can't happen again." "Claire?" "Don't." I grabbed my purse, my shoes, my phone. "This was a mistake. We're co-workers, that's all." I drove home in tears, showered until the water ran cold, and crawled into the bed I shared with Michael. When he called Saturday morning to check in, I almost confessed right then. But he sounded tired, distracted, eager to finish the conference and come home to his perfect life. So I swallowed the words and played my part. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow," I said. "Me too. Hey, I might be late. Flight doesn't get in until evening." "That's fine. I'll be here." I spent Saturday in a panic of guilt and rationalization. It was one time, a moment of weakness. Michael traveled so much, worked so hard, barely noticed me anymore. I was lonely. Derek made me feel alive. All the classic cheater's excuses, and I used every one. My phone rang Saturday afternoon. Michael again. "Hey, love, change of plans. I'm actually coming home tonight instead of tomorrow. Caught an earlier flight. Should be home by 8. Can you be there? I have a surprise for you." My blood ran cold. "Tonight? But I thought, I know, but I missed you. Wanted to come home early. You'll be there, right?" What could I say? "Of course, I'll be here." I hung up and immediately texted Derek. "We need to talk. Can't do this anymore. Michael's coming home." His response was immediate. "Let me see you one more time, please, just to talk." I should have said no, should have blocked his number, should have spent the afternoon preparing for Michael's return like a good wife. Instead, I told myself I needed closure, one conversation to end this properly. "Just to talk," I texted back. "My place, 7 p.m. You have to leave before 8. Even as I sent it, I knew I was playing with fire, but I needed to see him one more time. To prove to myself that Friday night was an aberration, that I could resist him, that I was still in control. Derek arrived at 7:15. I'd purposely dressed down, jeans, old t-shirt, no makeup. If I didn't look good, maybe this would be easier. "You look beautiful," he said anyway, and I hated how my heart fluttered. "We need to talk about boundaries," I started, but he was already moving closer. "I couldn't stop thinking about you," he said. "Last night was..." "A mistake," I finished. "I'm married, Derek. Happily married." "Are you?" He touched my face, and I leaned into his palm without thinking. "Because happy wives don't usually..." "Don't." I pulled away. "Michael's coming home. You need to leave." "In an hour," he said. "We have time." "Time for what?" He kissed me instead of answering, and I was lost. Again. All my resolutions crumbled as he backed me against the wall, his hands in my hair, his mouth on my throat. I told myself we'd stop, just kissing. Just this once more. Just... We didn't even make it to the bedroom. Right there in my living room, on the couch Michael had picked out, under the wedding photos on the wall. I betrayed my husband for the second time in 2 days. It was frantic, desperate, like we were trying to store up enough passion to last through the drought of being apart. "I love you," Derek said afterward, still breathless. "You don't even know me," I said, pulling my shirt back on. "I know enough." "You need to go, now." He was buttoning his shirt when we heard it. The unmistakable sound of car doors slamming. Multiple car doors. I looked at the clock. 7:47. "Michael's early," I whispered, panic flooding through me. "Go out the back." But then I heard voices, plural, my mother's laugh, my father's cough. What were my parents doing here? "Sophia?" Derek stood confused. "What's going on?" Before I could answer, the glass door to the backyard slid open. The world stopped. There was Michael, standing in the doorway with his phone raised, recording. Behind him, illuminated by the soft party lights he'd strung up, stood everyone. My parents, my sisters, my friends. Derek's wife, Julie, her face a mask of horror, all of them staring at us. Me half-dressed, Derek shirtless, the truth written across our guilty faces. "Surprise," Michael said, his voice deadly calm. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move, could only watch as Julie screamed Derek's name and pushed past the frozen crowd. As my mother's face crumpled. As my father turned away in disgust. As my sisters exchanged looks of shock and disappointment. "Michael," I started, grabbing for my clothes. "This isn't—" "What it looks like." He lowered his phone. "That's what you're going to say? That I didn't just walk in on you fucking another man in our house?" The vulgarity of it, from Michael, who never swore, hit me like a slap. Julie was sobbing, screaming at Derek. "In front of everyone? In front of everyone?" Derek tried to explain, to calm her, but she was beyond hearing. My mother was crying now too, my father's arm around her as he led her away. My sisters looked at me like they'd never seen me before. "How long?" Michael asked, still recording. "How long have you been lying to me?" "It's not... we never..." I couldn't form words. "Never what? Never meant for me to find out?" The truth hit me then. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't bad timing. Michael knew. He'd known I was lying when I'd said I was in bed Thursday night. He'd come home early on purpose. Set this whole thing up. The surprise party, the guests, the perfect timing. He'd orchestrated my humiliation with the same careful planning he brought to everything else. "You knew," I whispered. "I knew you were a liar," he said. "I just gave you the stage to show everyone else." I ran then, pushed past the shocked faces, past Julie's sobs, past my family's disappointment. Locked myself in our bedroom, my bedroom, and sobbed until I couldn't breathe. When I finally emerged, the house was empty except for Michael. He sat at the kitchen table, calm as ever, Derek's forgotten watch in front of him. "He left this Thursday night," Michael said conversationally, "when you were supposedly asleep in our bed." "Michael, please." 7 years, he continued. 7 years I loved you, trusted you, built a life with you, and you threw it all away for what? A few cheap thrills with your boss?" "It wasn't like that. You're never here. You don't see me anymore. I'm just part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or paying bills." "So you decided to fuck someone else? That's your solution?" "I was lonely." "Then you talk to me. You don't spread your legs for the first man who pays attention to you." The cruelty of his words shattered something in me. This wasn't my Michael, my gentle husband who cried at our wedding. This was a stranger, cold and calculating, who'd planned my destruction down to the last detail. "Get out," he said quietly. "Pack what you need and get out. You can come back for the rest when I'm not here." "This is my house too." "Not anymore." He stood looming over me. "You want to act single? Congratulations, you are." He picked up his keys, turned to go, then paused in the doorway. "By the way," he said, not looking back, "you were never invisible. You just stopped being someone worth seeing." Then he left. And just like that, the man who once cried at our wedding became the man who buried it. I left with a suitcase and my purse, driving aimlessly through the dark. My phone exploded with messages, my sisters demanding explanations, my mother crying on voicemail, friends who'd witnessed my humiliation offering shock and judgment in equal measure. I turned it off and checked into a hotel. Derek called the next morning. His wife had kicked him out. 15 years of marriage, destroyed in one night. He wanted to meet, to figure out what came next. "There is no next," I told him. We ruined everything for nothing." "It wasn't nothing. I meant what I said. I love you." "You love the idea of me, the thrill, the danger, but you don't know me, and I don't really know you." It was true. In the harsh light of consequences, our connection seemed flimsy, built on stolen moments and the excitement of the forbidden. Without the secrecy, without the impossibility, what did we really have? I filed for divorce the next week. Michael had already seen a lawyer, of course he had. He'd probably started planning the second he found Derek's watch. The man who'd loved me enough to plan elaborate surprises had used that same skill to destroy me. The settlement was brutal but fair. I got my car, my personal belongings, and enough money to start over. He got the house, the dignity, and the sympathy of everyone who'd witnessed my betrayal. Derek and I tried for a month. Dinner dates that felt forced. Conversations that circled back to our respective divorces. Sex that lacked the urgency of the forbidden. Without the thrill of sneaking around, we were just two broken people who destroyed our lives for a fantasy. "This isn't working," I finally admitted. "I know," he said. "I think I knew all along. I just didn't want to admit we'd lost everything for nothing." My job became unbearable. Every meeting included people who'd been at that party. Every hallway whispered with gossip. When the Seattle position opened up, I jumped at it. A fresh start, 3,000 miles from my shame. My family still speaks to me, but it's different. Strained. My mother asks how I'm doing but can't meet my eyes. My sisters include me in group texts but stopped inviting me to couples dinners. My father sends birthday cards with checks but no personal notes. I'm still their family, but I'm also the woman who betrayed a good man in the worst possible way. Michael remarried last month. A coworker sent me the announcement, probably thinking I should know. His new wife is beautiful, accomplished, age-appropriate. They look happy in their engagement photos, genuinely happy, not just performing happiness for the camera like we did. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. She's living the life I threw away for a few nights of passion with a man I barely knew. Sometimes I dream about that night. But in my dreams, I hear the car doors and make different choices. Send Derek away. Greet Michael at the door like a faithful wife. Smile through the surprise party he'd planned to celebrate our love instead of expose my betrayal. Wake up Sunday morning in his arms instead of alone in a hotel room. But then I wake up to reality. To my studio apartment with its view of the Space Needle. To my successful but lonely existence. To the knowledge that I had everything and threw it away because I was bored. My therapist says I need to forgive myself. That everyone makes mistakes. That I'm not defined by my worst moment. But she's wrong. Some betrayals are too big to come back from. Some moments define you forever. I'm the woman who cheated on her husband and got caught in the most humiliating way possible. Who destroyed a good man's trust and her own family's respect. Who traded a lifetime of steady love for a few nights of excitement. Michael's surprise party was supposed to celebrate me. Instead, it revealed me. And everyone saw exactly who I really was. Not the perfect wife, not the successful director, not the woman who organized charity events and made beautiful homes. Just a liar who got exactly what she deserved. My phone buzzes. A text from a colleague asking if I want to grab drinks after work. He's nice, attractive, interested. But I decline. I've learned my lesson about workplace attractions, about the cost of wanting more than what you have. I pour myself a glass of wine and stand at my window, watching the Seattle rain. Somewhere in Phoenix, Michael is probably coming home to his new wife, making dinner together, planning their future, being happy in all the ways we never quite managed. I tell myself I'm happy too. I have a good job, a nice apartment, my freedom. But late at night, when the city sleeps and I'm alone with my thoughts, I know the truth. I had everything. A husband who loved me enough to plan elaborate surprises, a beautiful home, a future full of possibility. And I destroyed it all because I confused being comfortable with being bored, confused attention with love, confused excitement with happiness. Michael's surprise party was meant to celebrate 7 years of marriage. Instead, it became the funeral for everything we'd built. Because what he unwrapped wasn't love, it was truth. And the truth was me. Some surprises reveal love, others reveal truth. Michael gave me both that night, love and truth. And while everyone else raised a glass to toast our marriage, I was unknowingly giving a eulogy.